Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesdays with Wolbes. I'm pumped to be here, to be sitting next to my wife, and so that we can be learning together, growing together. It really is a special opportunity every Wednesday to be with you, special ladies, in this Wednesday with Wolbes series. So last week we spoke about intimacy, and we spoke about how important it is for one to enjoy any pleasure in life. We need to have balance. Without balance, we don't have the proper measure that is needed to maximize pleasure, right? So that was intimacy last week, but this week it goes into something new, and way number 18 is limited pleasure, bimiut ta'anug, limited pleasure. So we've established that balance is the key. Everything about Judaism is balance. We're not extremists to the right. We're not extremists to the left. We are in the middle. We're exactly in the middle. You know, we mentioned this previously, that when the Jewish people received the Torah, they said two words, Naaseh v'nishma. Naaseh from the word Esav, and Nishma from the word Yishmael, because they were both extremists. And what we do is we say we're not either of those extremes. We're a balance of the two. One was complete immorality and complete adultery, right? That was Yishmael, was an adulterer, because he grew up in a house of Avram, of Abraham, which had tolerance, which had accepting everyone for who they are. That's great. It's kindness, mercy. But Esav grew up in a house of judgment, of din, right? And judgment is you get what you deserve. There's no kindness, right? You wake up, you get a job, and you earn a livelihood, right? There's no free handouts. Esav became a murderer because he became the judge, the jury, and the executioner, right? And that was a problem. So what the Jewish people are is we say we are not Esav, we're not extremists here, we're not Yishmael, right? We are going to listen, we're going to hear, and we are a balance of the two.
Right. So we're human beings, we're physical beings that live in a spiritual world, right? That was 3 classes ago. But right, so we don't pack we don't say we should all just pack our bags and live on some mountainside and just meditate all day and live with, bread and water. And on the other hand, we're not hedonists who say we're just here for physical pleasure. That's all that matters in this world, and we don't just chase after physical pleasures. So as Aryeh said, and we keep saying, everything's all about balance and finding the proper balance, and that's what we'll talk about today.
Excellent. I'm just trying to share this so we can have it on Facebook as well. Right now it's on YouTube. So in the next segment, I'll do that.
So should I stall for a minute there?
So seeking pleasure for its own sake is to our spiritual detriment. We have to understand that the way we see physical pleasure is by elevating it and making it a tool for spiritual connection. Physical pleasure for its own sake only hurts our spirituality and our pursuit for holiness. Okay, so it's one of those fundamental principles that we need to really understand and internalize. There's nothing wrong with materialism. There's nothing wrong with pleasure. There's nothing wrong with a world of technology. But the minute it controls us, that's when we have a problem, when we lose that balance. I'll give an example. It says that Mashiach, right, the redemption of the world, of the Jewish people, will be Mashiach riding on a donkey. Now, give me a break, okay? We're in the 21st century, where we can have, a Tesla, a limousine Tesla. We can have, a private jet fly the Messiah around, and he's going to come on a donkey, right? Give me a break, right? And of course, we have to understand that the words of the sages mean something. Our sages tell us something magnificent. What is the word donkey in Hebrew? It's chamor, right? Chet, mem, vav, resh. Now, if you take those same letters and just switch around two of them, the Vav and the Mem, you just change their order, it becomes Chomer. It becomes materialism. You know what? When you call someone who's dumb, they call him a donkey, a different form of word, but they call him a donkey, right? Why? Because you're just like flesh, you're just bones, you have no character. Every animal has a character, except for a donkey. A donkey just schleps, right? A horse, it gallops, it's royalty, right? You look at every animal has a function, character. What's the character of a donkey? Nothing. It has no character. It's an unbelievable thing, right? And Mashiach is going to come riding on that. Well, our sages tell us a donkey represents materialism. And what Mashiach is going to teach us is that he is riding on the donkey. That means he's riding on the materialism, not the materialism on him. And in a world that we're living in today, we see many, many people. I mean, you go, where was it yesterday? I see wherever you go, you see people on their phones. They're always on their phones. They're always, it's an amazing thing. Who's in control of who? Who's in control? Is the materialism, this has great power, it's great potential, unbelievable tool. But is it in control of me, or am I in control of it? And that's really the question that each and every one of us, if we want to maximize pleasure, we need to be in control.
Okay. Yes. So we're talking about, I'm remembering now, like 3 days after my sister got married in New York. So Aryeh went back to Houston with most of the kids, and I stayed an extra few days for the Shabbos, for Sheva Brachos. And it was 3 days after the wedding, and I met my sister and new brother-in-law for lunch at some like bagel shop place in New York. And we went out and we walked in there, we ordered what we wanted for lunch. And then they had like tons of pastries and muffins and cakes and all these like just whole amazing display of like just really good dessert. So my brother-in-law was like, what do you want to get? So I'm looking at it and I'm like, I want one of everything. I said it as a joke because I'm a foodie. I like food. They all looked really good. I wasn't actually going to order one of everything. My brother-in-law, first I thought he just like didn't know that I was being sarcastic because like he just met me kind of, we didn't know each other that well. But now I realize it's just his personality. He literally ordered one of everything. He went to the front and ordered one of everything, and they came out with like 30 desserts for the three of us.
It's called Zehava heaven.
It is, seriously. But even for me, that was a lot. And my standards are very high, low, high, whatever you want to say, right? So obviously, where I'm going with this is that desserts are great, the food is good, everything's good, right? But again, balance and limiting, because too much of anything is not good. Hashem created this world for our pleasure. We're supposed to enjoy this world. We're supposed to enjoy this pleasure. Like all the food in the world, there's so many great foods. The Talmud says that if Hashem created all these different fruits, and if someone doesn't enjoy the fruit that Hashem created, they're going to have to answer that in the world to come. I think actually, yeah, Aryeh's been really nice to his brother, Yaakov, the last few of these classes, saying nice things about him. I think I need to restore the balance here. So I'm going to challenge Yaakov Wolbe. It's called the Strawberry Challenge. Try a strawberry. I promise you it's good. This kid has never tried a strawberry in his life. It's like weird fact about Yaakov Wolbe. Anyway, there's so many amazing foods out there that we need to try, right? And even
in fact, the Talmud says that there's going to be a question to every person when we pass away: did we enjoy from this world the correct amount? Because God's going to say, I created the Swiss Alps and you didn't enjoy it. Is that what you were heading to? I'm sorry.
So you're hinting that you're taking.
Yeah, we're going. Let's go. Pack your bags.
Okay. I have a whole list of places that Hashem wants me to go to before. I don't want to have to whole account, so I have a few places you need to take me. No, so I'm saying all these foods that are there, right? Even when the man came down from when we were in the desert, right? Every day the man came down, but it says that the manna, right? It had like this special, it was like this little thing, but it could taste like whatever you wanted it to taste like, and no calories. But the right, Hashem could have done that. He could have given us like this, like take daily multivitamin, and it has all your nutrition and all your vitamins and everything that you need in one little pill, and you just eat that, and and you're good for the day. But he's created so many, like, what was like, those foods that like everyone claims can taste like anything, like quinoa can taste like anything, tofu can taste like anything. It's like, you want to have a cheeseburger, but you're trying to limit your calories, have a riced cauliflower bun with tofu burger and like sprinkle it with like, quinoa, and it's the same thing, right? So there's so many foods out there that we are meant to enjoy, we're supposed to enjoy, and we need to enjoy it, but how much, right?
So the question is, was the body created for the soul or the soul for the body? It's like, was the car created for the driver or the driver for the car? In our previous home, we had a lovely neighbor, and he had retired. He worked for many years in his place of employment, and he, now that he's retired, bought a beautiful, beautiful pickup truck. It was black, it was shining, it was brand spanking new. And I'll tell you what, more than he bought a pickup truck, the pickup truck bought him, because every day he was out there buffing his car, he was shining it, washing it, like it's a little baby. Like, it's like you wash the baby, make sure the baby's all clean. That was his new life. And one day it occurred to me, I'm like, he is the servant to the car. The car, we typically think, is here to take me from place to place, but it was the exact reverse role. He was the servant to the car. I mean, all day we had a branch that was hanging dangerously close, like within 10 feet to his truck. And he was like, I think you need to cut that, because if it rains, it can hit my truck. No problem. We'll take. The truck became the center of his life. But think of the body. Is the body there to serve the soul, or is the soul there to serve the body? It's a very important question. When someone asks you, "Who are you? What are you?" we shouldn't say, "What do you mean? I'm Sandra," right? No, you should say, "I'm a soul. I'm a soul wrapped in this body," which is very interesting. When someone passes away, the family tears the clothing, right? They do a kriya, they tear their clothes. Our sages tell us one of the reasons why we tear the clothes is because we should remember that the body, the physical, is just the clothes to the soul. So while we can tear the clothes and nothing really happened to us, right? While the person has expired and the person is passed along to the next world, the soul lives on. The soul hasn't disappeared. And to remember, there has to be a contrast. There has to be a balance between thinking it's all over, it's all gone, versus the soul lives on and the body is what ended its life.
I'm just gonna go back to food because like that's my thing. You want to talk about cars? No. So how like I'm not assuming any like gender roles here and who does what in your houses and whatever. But like here, I'm very old-fashioned. I do the cooking around here mostly.
It's just because she wants to eat.
No,
if I did the cooking,
I feed everyone.
If I did the cooking, she wouldn't be eating much, but it's fine.
So I was like, imagine.
She's like, meat again?
No, I can do it. I like meat. But if let's say your husband or your partner or whatever, okay, cooked you a nice, good 3-course gourmet dinner with some candles, put everything out for you. And you come and and they're like, surprise, look, and you come and you're like, oh, cool. You know what? I'm not so hungry. I'm like not really in the mood. I'm just gonna have some cereal and milk and just watch some TV, right? Obviously, they're gonna be insulted. And if it's the wife and she's a nice Jewish mother, she'll be like, what do you mean you're not hungry? I cooked you all this food. I spent all this time, right? But Hashem has it doesn't guilt us and he has no hurt feelings, but he created this world for us. He created this world to give us pleasure. So if he created all this world and did everything for us and we don't enjoy it, then that's on us, right? We're taking away, we're from ourselves, because there's so much out there for us to, it's a lack of appreciation on our part, right? So I'm very appreciative of all the good food. So I make sure to partake of it a lot. But really, just there's so much out there that we really need to, enjoy in life. But then again, there's a way to enjoy the physical pleasure and not just use it as a, means to an end, ends to the means, right? Because you wanna enjoy life. So like if you're having, let's say, a tub of, you take out like for example, a Magnum white chocolate vanilla ice cream tub, one that crackles and you just, all these juicy bits of good white chocolate on the outside, right? So you take it out and you're like halfway done or 3/4 done, and you're like, it's too little to just put back, it's like, it's a waste to put it back in the freezer, you just like finish it up and you're like, wait, did I just finish that whole thing myself? Anybody else? Just me? Okay, right? So you ate this whole tub of ice cream, and then at some point, like, did you even enjoy it, right? Like, so I think, what's the best spoonful of that ice cream? The first scoop or the last scoop? The first scoop, you're like, yum, it's so good, right? Like you're really enjoying it, and you see like there's none left and you're like scraping the last bite and you're like just licking the spoon from that last bit because you didn't have enough. So the first bite and that last bite, you really, really enjoy those because your senses are heightened, you're excited to eat it. At the end, you realize like that's it. So you focus more on it, you're more present, you're more mindful when you're eating it, right? So then you're really enjoying the experience more those times. In the middle, you're kind of just like gobbling it all down and not really like appreciating it. So at some point it's like, those people who like, okay, just don't really eat and enjoy food, but like, the first bite of dessert, that's all you need, because after that it's just, that's not true. But really at some point it's like, you're eating the dessert, enjoy it, but like at some point it's just like, enough. I'm calling it. Like, I'm like, someone take this away from me.
I was once eating with a friend of mine in a pizza shop, ordinary, right there, enjoying some pizza together. And he says to me, something? Can you slow down? He says, you're not enjoying your food. He says, eat your food slower. And he was 100% right. Sometimes we're hungry. We don't stop. Enjoy it. Take it all in. Right?
Right. We had Rabbi Laser Brody was at our house. Bobby, I'll get to you in a sec. So Rabbi Laser Brody, he's a friend and he's a
world-class lecturer.
So he was at our house and we had him over and, he wanted to have some wine. He's a botanist. That's the word, right? Botanist. So he opens up a few bottles.
He's an agricultural scientist.
Okay. So he opens up a couple bottles, pours some wine, right? So there's like a whole art to wine, right? I don't know. I just pour me some wine and I'm good. Like, I don't really like, right? But when it has to be the right temperature, the right glass. No, that's for red wine. That's for white wine. That's for this. You like aerate it. You pour it in the glass. You swish it around. Those people, right? And then you take a sip and swish it, right? And apparently in fancy places, like we were at a winery in Israel with a group of women a few years ago, and like everyone's just like drinking and just spitting it out. And I'm like, that's rude. Apparently it's not, because you're just tasting it, and if you really like it, you swallow it, but you don't, you can get drunk if you try all them and drink them, which I don't see what the problem is. But so you try these, right? And he's pouring, Rabbi Brody's like pouring all these wines and smelling them and tasting them, and I detect, a hint of saffron and chestnut oak and some musty socks. Like all these smells, these wonderful aromas. I don't have such a strong nose. I don't detect all this, right? But he's a connoisseur of wine. He enjoys the wine, right? So us, right? In life, we need to train ourselves to be connoisseurs of life. right? When we have an experience, when we enjoy from the physical world, we're eating that tub of ice cream, we're drinking wine, whatever we're doing, enjoy it, stop, take a minute, like realize the smells, realize the flavors. You could go out to eat, you go to a nice, you go to a nice restaurant and you can just, like drive there, it takes time to drive there, you make a reservation, you sit down, you eat, right? And you just wolf down the food. You go to nice restaurants, you see people on the phone the whole time and they might as well be eating rice, cauliflower, or tofu, right? Because they're like not even enjoying their food. They're just, so you want to enjoy your food. You sit there, you talk, enjoy the experience, so that you're not just wolfing down your food and then, getting your bill for $87, wondering what that's for, and then deciding if you should tip 12% or 15% or round it up to 90 or 100, all these big decisions in life, but you're not enjoying the food. So stop and enjoy your food. Realize that all these good foods are, I'll let you say the bracha part because that's your thing. You love saying that always, and I love it.
I actually want to say something else.
Okay.
And that is that there's a halacha in Jewish law that it says ein mesichin b'shas haseuda. You're not supposed to talk while you eat. And our sages tell us that the reason you're not supposed to talk while you eat is because our esophagus and our breathing tube, right, are very close to each other. And if you talk, which you need breath for, while you're eating, you could choke. And it's a dangerous activity for one to talk while they eat. I want to suggest that there's another idea, and that is because if you're busy talking, you're not busy enjoying. And it's a great thing to sit with someone, talk before the food, talk after the food, not during the food. When you're eating, enjoy. You're saying to be a connoisseur of life, right? I love that phrase. In fact, it's part of my Facebook profile, subtitle, right? I want to be a connoisseur of life and to just enjoy everything you do in life. Don't let an opportunity to enjoy life pass you by without taking it all in. You're going someplace, enjoy it, take it all in. You see my grandfather talked about this a lot. You see a sunset, right? How many times do we just say, oh wow, that's so pretty? We take out our phone, we take a picture, and we just continue going. Stop, pull over to the side of the road and take it all in. Enjoy it. This is a love note from the Almighty saying, I love you. I put you here to see this beautiful sunset so that you know that I love you. But a person is very easy to just continue going on with our lives and not taking it all in. And it's the same with food. It's the same with relationships. It's the same with love. It's the same, with everything that we have around us. Anything that you look around you, right? When you bought your phone for the first time, were you excited? It's very exciting. I have a brand new phone. It's like, wow, I got to keep it clean, right? A week later, are we still excited? Maybe not so much. 2 weeks, a month, 3 months later, we can hardly see the phone. It's so dirty, right? So we have to recognize that every single pleasure that we have shouldn't be one that just passes us by. Take it all in. God gave it to you to enjoy. All right. One of the great rabbis, Rabbi Victor Miller, he would always say, he says, take an apple and look how beautiful the apple is. He says, do you know that in that apple is the future of all apples? Right? Consider that. You take the seeds out of that apple, you plant it any place in the world, we give it the proper watering that it needs, you give it the proper atmosphere that it needs, and it'll grow new apples. It's really amazing. I was talking just yesterday to a friend of mine who has many properties in Israel, and he has vineyards, and he has all of these different fruits that he grows. One of them is an etrog. And he grows the citrus that we shake with our lulav and etrog, right? He grows that, and he said that he got his source for his etrog trees is a seed that someone gave him from an etrog that they got from Italy, and now he's growing these Italian etrogs, which are supposed to be the highest quality etrogs, right? From what? From a seed that someone in Houston, Texas gave him, that he brought with him to Israel, that was planted in the land of Israel. One little seed, right? Take your phone, put it in the ground, see if another Apple phone grows. I don't think so. But we have this miraculous world that we live in. Now, when we take a bite into an apple, do we realize that we're biting into an eternity? Do we realize that this delicious, juicy apple has another million apples in it? Or do we're just so busy living life and we're not stopping to enjoy it and to appreciate the awesome gift that God has given us? So,
when we went out, it was a few years ago, I think it was for my birthday, went to that nice restaurant by Wall Street in the city.
Yes.
Whatever. Okay, we don't need to say it. Doesn't matter. So it was like this fancy restaurant, and we heard about it, so we went there and we order appetizer. We're looking at the menu and the prices, and we order appetizers, and I think I'm like, I'm full. I'm good, right? And you really enjoy those appetizers because, I'm thinking we had Rosh Hashanah dinner a couple years ago. So I always serve a nice first course when I serve a Shabbos or holiday Yantif meal. So there's challah and dips and salads and fish or whatever it is, right? And I also, because it was Rosh Hashanah, so I had all the simanim, all the omen sign, right, that we have, all those fruits. So you have the apple and honey, the pomegranates, the dates. So all these foods. So we had someone over, I guess it was her first time having a Rosh Hashanah dinner like that, a traditional Rosh Hashanah dinner. Her family didn't do it like that, which is funny. So I have all this food out, all these I'm thinking if you didn't know what it was, it's a really weird
dinner
course. What are you serving? Pieces of I don't know, all these weird things. But anyway, I put it all out and everyone's taking and we're saying all the blessings for all the New Year stuff, right? And she whispers, she was sitting right next to me and she leans over and whispers to me, I don't really think that this is enough food for everybody for the whole meal. So I was like, thank you very much. That's really nice of you. And I'm like, this is just the appetizer. The main course is coming, right? The best is yet to come, right? The good stuff is coming. So I think in life, a lot of us, the materialism is the appetizer, okay? So all this food and all this good stuff out there, that's just the appetizer. The best is yet to come. So don't fill up on the appetizer because there's so much good out there, right? There's so much deeper, good, more fulfilling, more nutritious, fills your soul better, right? Enjoy your appetizer, but that's not the whole point. That's not the whole world. That's not everything. So we have to remember that. Enjoy it, right? Detect all those sweet, savory, crunchy, enjoy it, really, really enjoy it, but realize that the best is yet to come. That's not the purpose. That's not everything. And when Aryeh talks about always how brachas, right? We say a blessing always. Before we eat the apple, right? We make a bracha. We elevate the food that we're eating from physical to something spiritual. So it's not just a physical act of feed me, feed me, feed me. You're making a bracha. You're eating something, right? If you have go to a bridal shower. Remember those days? We used to do these things. So you go to a bridal shower, baby shower, right? And you have someone, and everyone brings their gift. I'm always so uncomfortable about these things. I never did any of those things, but I don't know. I saw someone sent me a message. I haven't spoken to her in 5-6 years at least. Haven't seen her for 20 years. Hi, getting married and whatever. And I'm registered at here and here and here and here. And I'm like, cool. Nice to hear from you. I saw this thing also online that there was some wedding, and according to your gift, did anyone else see this? It was the weirdest thing. According to your gift, you get if your gift was between $50 to $200, you get your choice of chicken or beef, whatever. And if your gift is valued at $200, you saw this? And it's the weirdest thing. If you spend $200 to $500, you get this, and $500 to that, you could get a lobster, blah, whatever, bisque, blah, blah, right? And so people obviously have this thing that everything's just coming to them. But when we say a bracha, right, it's like you stop and the gracious bride who says, thank you so much for coming. This is so nice. Oh, you didn't need to get something, right? And she opens her gifts, and when she's done, she sends a thank you card to everyone, which I'm really bad at. Also, thank you cards. If I ever didn't send anyone a thank you card, I'm so sorry. And my kids, get that from me. It's really bad. But right, that's why we say bracha before we eat. We say bracha afterwards. So we're appreciating and enjoying what we're eating and taking it to another level.
So I'll tell you, I grew up in a very simple home. My parents are simple people. They don't like to be showy, and they don't like to be extravagant, and they want to be always the ordinary, simple people, whether they had the ability to spend more or not. You couldn't tell the difference. And my parents were proud of that. And my father had a dream car, the Lincoln Town car, that he never bought because that's a showy car. And he wouldn't buy something that was showy. He wanted to stay, on a low profile, and he didn't want to be showy. When Zehava and I moved back from Israel after we got rabbinic ordination, so we were getting our first job and we needed to buy a car. And I was looking around. I was looking for like a Toyota Camry, a car that can be big enough for our small family. And I couldn't find any. And my friend calls me up. He says, listen, I have a car that is for sale. If you get it within the next 2 hours, it's yours. Otherwise, it's going on the market. And it was a great car. It was like brand new. It was an elderly woman who got rid of the car, a trade-in, and it was a Lexus. Right, it was a Lexus. It was one of the lower models of the Lexus, but it was a Lexus nonetheless. And I remember speaking to my father after we bought this car. So I told him, oh, thank God we bought a car, and now we're ready to start working. And he says, oh, what type of car did you get? And I told him it was a Lexus. And there was like this silence. Like, I was like, well, what's the matter? He says, well, he didn't really say much. And a little while later, I spoke to one of my siblings, and I said, what's the deal? Like, why? He said, well, the concern always with materialism is that you get used to a certain standard and you can't get down from it. You get used to a certain standard of luxury, a way of living, and you can't ever simplify after that. The rule is like this, is that worldly pleasures have the ability to take over our lives. We shouldn't be living for it. It should be there to serve us. And as long as we're able to keep that perspective, we're good. But the minute we lose that, right, we have the ability to limit life instead of expand and enjoy life. And that is the worry of all type of luxury. Luxury is very good if it serves us. Luxury is not good if we serve it. Now, it's true, we have to take care of the gifts that God gives us, and we have to be responsible for the gifts that we have, but not to become a servant to it. We mentioned this a little bit earlier, but worldly pleasures are here to maximize our life, not to limit it. Okay? It should enrich our lives, not limit it. Actually, so there's a quote from the Tana Debei Eliyahu, one of the great early sages, where he says, before I pray for Torah to enter my body, I pray for luxuries and delicacies not to enter my body, right? To not get caught up in a world of constant pleasure seeking. Again, pleasure is a great thing, but that's not the purpose of life. Okay, it has great benefits, but not something that should be an escape from life, right? And many times materialism, think of again the phone. Phone is a very materialistic thing. You have access here to the entire globe at our fingertips, like literally, right? We can call anyone around the world. We can talk. We can search anything you want to search. You can search on a Google or whatever browser you're using, right? It really is amazing. But is it here to serve me, or am I here to serve it? Okay? And I think it's a very important distinction, right? It's a tool. This is a tool. It's not a piece of entertainment. It's a tool to help us become more effective in our business, to help us be more productive. But we have to remember that it's a tool. It's a tool to serve us. All right.
I think this whole idea that we're talking about materialism, and I think this actually ties in very nicely to we're a few days before the holiday of Sukkot, right? And the holiday of Sukkot is called Zman Simchasenu, which means the time of our happiness. Time, like it's a time of joy, right? So, like, what does that mean, right? What does it mean? It's like a time of joy. Like, do we just like, the holiday starts and like you flip a switch and it's like, okay, happy, right? Or like, how does it work that how could you say like the holiday is a time for happiness? What does that even mean? Let's say someone's going through a hard time. Look at the world out here. There's so much craziness going on, right? All of a sudden the holiday comes and we're just supposed to be happy. So,
Right.
well,
and not only that, it's a time when we leave our homes.
Right? So that's the whole idea, right? The whole idea of Sukkot, of this whole time of Simchasenu, of our happiness, is what happens. What do we do on Sukkot? We leave our houses, we leave our comfort, we leave our AC, or if you're up north, you leave your heating, right? And you're sitting outside, and it's not as pleasant, and you're not sitting on a couch and just watching TV, right? You're sitting outdoors. It might be hot. There might be mosquitoes. There might be,
cold weather.
Whatever it is, and you're sitting outdoors, and we're in the sukkah, and this is when we're supposed to be the happiest. So how is this? Like, how is the time that we are outdoors, right? What's that whole idea of becoming happy? How do we just become happy people, right? And how do we harness that and take it on to carry us through the rest of the year? So, okay, so yesterday we were sitting outside, right? We're talking about enjoying the moment, right? Like being more mindful. So we're sitting outside, and it was beautiful weather, right? And we're just sitting outside with the kids, enjoying it's just so nice. Like the last few days, hopefully it lasts, right? And through Sukkot would be really nice. So we're sitting outside, and the kids are playing ball, and Hadassah, who's 2 years old, she's like telling Aryeh like catch, and she's like open like this. She's like telling Aryeh she's like teaching him how to play ball, right? She's like the next Kobe Bryant. Too soon, right? So she's like, because she learned how to sort of throw and sort of catch a ball and shoot, and right. So she's like, she's a ball player now. All of a sudden, I know that's baseball, that's basketball. I know, I'm not so bad. So, but the right. If I went to play to Top Golf, right, like twice, and I played like Top Golf twice. I went to a golf range like once. I don't see the thrill. Sorry, right? But am I a golfer now? Like, I got it. You take the thing, you swing, right? I'm not suddenly a golfer, right? Sorry, Tom, but right? A golfer, right? That's his life. It's a certain way of living. It's a certain mindset. It's a certain attitude. You practice, right? It becomes part of your life, right? So the same thing with happiness. You're not, okay, I'm a happy person, all of a sudden I'm happy, right? That's not how it works. You develop this mindset that this is a goal, this is something I want. I want to be a happy person. I want to enjoy life. I want to enjoy the world. So all of a sudden, you develop that mindset and you become happy. How? Like, what's the secret? It's not magic, right? It doesn't just happen all the time. So the secret is get out of your house, go outside. Leave all your comforts behind. Leave everything. You're not pulling into your sukkah. You're not bringing your luxury Lexus car. No. You're not bringing your car into the sukkah, right? You're not bringing all your designer wardrobe and all your everything into the sukkah. You're not taking all your plaques and all your, doctorates and all your things that are hanging that you're so proud of, all those things. You're not hanging those things up in your sukkah. You're sitting in your sukkah with all the basic things. It's a mitzvah to make the sukkah look beautiful. And we have a beautiful sukkah. Hopefully come by, say hello, right? But you have a nice sukkah and you're sitting outside, but it's basic. Everyone's in the same thing. It rains, everyone gets rained. Okay, no one's like, oh, did you see their sukkah? Right? Okay, you can have a nicer sukkah, but it's not. It's not about showing. It's not about materialism. We go to the basic materialism, to the basic level of materialism, like the lowest, that's needed, and that's where we find our joy, our happiness, right? Because what's in our sukkah? Not our materialism. We're sitting there surrounded by our family, our friends, and ourselves, right? We're sitting there just ourselves, focusing on what's important, right? On who we are, what we represent, what our goals are, right? We're not sitting there thinking, focusing on all the things that we need in our house. Our couches are, we need to do this and we need this, right? Just outdoors, away from materialism, and taking a step back and realizing this is what we have. We just finished Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. It's like, 'tis the season, right? All the holidays right now. So we had Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and we realize Hashem's our King and how much He loves us. He's our Father, our King, and Yom Kippur, and we cleanse ourselves of all the stuff that we don't need it, and we're feeling like good and pure and good, and we go outside, and now we say like we're sitting with Hashem, we're sitting with our family, we're sitting with our friends. These are the things that are important. These are the things. So I think that that's like the whole idea of this being a time of happiness is Sukkah, is that we realize I don't need all this materialism. I don't need it all to make me happy. Of course, again, like we were saying, it's a means to an end, right? When you find happiness, when you're happy from within, that gives you pleasure, that gives you joy, right? There's a difference between happiness and pleasure, right? A happiness, like pleasure comes from something external, and happiness is something that comes from something internal, right? So also like pleasure you get by taking something. Happiness is when you're giving. Pleasure, pleasure a lot of people get from like, it's also temporary, it's passing. Happiness can last a long time. Like when you have true happiness, it can last you a very, very long time, right? So also like a lot of times when people have something, right, they feel like pleasure because they're not, is like almost like a lack of pain, or not feeling anything is almost pleasure, right? Like drugs, alcohol, right? So people take stuff and they feel this like pleasure, right? That's not pleasure, right? We talked about that before, the difference between pleasure and like oneg, hana. If you missed that, it's fine, whatever. But it's interchangeable in the English language, but it makes a very big difference. Those two things they're not the same. It's not real pleasure, right? So that kind of pleasure just passes. That's not real pleasure. And also you can, if abused, if you have it too much, you can get addicted to pleasure, right? You can't get addicted to happiness. That's not like too much, right? People have their like guilty pleasures, right? Things you feel like you regret afterwards. No one afterwards like enjoys spending time with their family and feels like regret from happiness. So all these things are all things that happiness, right, from pleasure, right? So we're outside on Sukkot, enjoying our little Sukkah Kleina, that song. Who knows the Sukkah Kleina song? I don't know it. I can't speak Yiddish for the life of me. But my mother she makes Aryeh sing it on Sukkot. But just sit outside, and if you have the opportunity this year,
realize how much we do have.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
The Jewish people were in the desert, and we had absolutely nothing. We had absolutely nothing. I mean, we had whatever we took from Egypt, right? Whatever we were able to, but that was it. We couldn't do anything. You couldn't go shopping. You had no marketplaces. The clothing they never bought because the clothing didn't wither, right? They didn't need to buy food because food they got manna. So they had all this money, and what are they going to do, right? The Jewish people really had, except for be close to one another, except for love the life that you're living, feel the warmth and protection. I want to share with you a beautiful idea.
But you still had all those people who still found reason to complain.
That's true. You'll always have complainers.
Those Debbie Downers, right? We all know those people that no matter what, like you could go. You're talking about Chol, the in-between days of Sukkot, like the family goes intermediate days, right? The family goes on trips, right? It's like a nice Sunday, or like a winter break, right? So you go on trips, and you like just want to do stuff and spend time with the family and like what are we doing? It's very hard to find something that, you know, all ages and everyone's happy and whatever. And you know, you have kids or friends or people who are like, oh, it's so much fun, this is great, we're having a great time. And you have people like, are we there yet? No, I'm so tired, I'm so thirsty, when's the next mountain? And they're fetching about everything. There's too many mosquitoes, there's too many, right? And you always have those complainers that like at all times that are always stop complaining. Not everything in life is perfect. I think some people like get pleasure from being miserable. Like they're just happy being miserable. But those people like suck the living, like the life out of a room. Nobody wants to be around them, right? Because people are happy and smile, right? Those are people who bring joy. Those are people you want to be around. Those are people that, so we want to be happy, enjoy what we have, appreciate what we have. And back to you, you're saying something.
No,
Sorry.
so this is a very beautiful idea I want to add to this, is that the sukkah, we know, needs to have a minimum of 3 walls. Now, it's not really 3 walls, it's 2 and the majority of the third wall, okay? Our sages tell us something amazing. If you look at the arm, right, so you have from the end of the hand, from the shoulder to the elbow, from the elbow to the wrist, and from the wrist you have this. So if you take it together, this is 1 wall, this is a 2nd wall, and this is the majority of the 3rd wall. This is God's embrace. This is the sukkah that we need, is God is hugging us. God is saying, I want to be close to you. We just finished Rosh Hashanah. We established, like Zehava said, we established God as the King of the universe. On Yom Kippur, we have to cleanse ourselves so that this relationship won't have any blockages. But now we say we're totally committed before we go back into our homes. Before we go back into our normal routine, we're going to step out a second and recognize that the materialism is what brought us down. The habit is what brought us down. We leave our homes, we go to sukkah. Then what do we do the day? I love this part, right? What do we do the day we go back into our homes and we leave the sukkah? We dance around the Torah. We say, you know what our priorities are? Our priorities are not the materialism anymore. It's the Torah. It's the relationship with God. It's the holiness. That's what we're going to dance around. That's going to be the center of our world, not the other things. I want to just share I'm sure you've also seen this story, but there was a millionaire or a billionaire, I have no idea, but one of the two, who decided he wanted to be buried in his, I think it was a Rolls Royce. He wanted to be buried in his Rolls Royce, right? And you see a picture of a crane putting the Rolls Royce 6 feet under, right? And he's buried, you see him buckled in the front seat, and he wanted, that's the way he wanted. I mean, this is someone who even after his physical life is over, can't let go of that physicality. And that's a tragedy. That is a tragedy that a person is so immersed in a physical, materialistic lifestyle that they can't get beyond it. That is it, you know, our overindulgence in physicality drains our self-respect. It drains who we are, our character, right? When you have a cup of coffee, right? The simplest pleasure. You drink a cup of coffee. How many times do we drink a coffee, right? And we're just on the run. We're grabbing, we have our notes and our bags and our stuff, and we're just running out of the house with the coffee. Just stop for a second. Take it all in. Smell the aroma of the coffee and just enjoy it for 1 second. You can enjoy the whole cup of coffee, but if that's not possible, at least take 1 moment to appreciate it, to enjoy it. Take it all in. Yes, Bobby.
In your podcast of humility, you talk about the awe of the moment and sort of like what you're. So my question is, a lot of these aspects are interchangeable, or so it seems, because the same thing with pleasure. I'm sitting outside here looking at the sky and thank God it's so beautiful and all the green shrubbery around me. I'm thinking to myself, God, this is wonderful. Here we are studying Torah, talking together. It's taking that moment. And I thought maybe, am I on the right track with that? I mean, it's sort of interchangeable.
The entire Torah is connected because the whole purpose of the Torah is to bring us closer to the Almighty. So there are millions of ways to get there, right? And everyone is valuable as long as it's facing the right direction of bringing us closer to the Almighty. And that's really what we're trying to accomplish. You're 100% right, Bobby. Yes, whether it comes through the angle over here or the angle over there, is it bringing us closer to an awareness, to a consciousness of how much the Almighty loves us and the relationship we have with Him? Or does it distance us? There are many, many things that a person can do that distance them from enjoyment and pleasure in life.
Also, like a lot of people's physical pleasures, right, are escapes from reality.
Right.
So people will drink. And I'm not saying drinking is not a terrible thing, properly, right? We make kiddush every Shabbos. The word kiddush is from the word kedusha, kadosh, holy, right? We take wine, we take alcohol, and that's how we sanctify Shabbos. It's not, you do it on grape juice, but I'm saying we could enjoy physical pleasures of this world, but in the right amounts, in the right balance, like, right, what we keep saying. So a lot of physical pleasures in this world are just escapes. So like someone could just sit in front of a TV all day because that's their escape. Drugs, alcohol, food. That's me. No, but people just eat endlessly, right? And just sit in front of just like park your chair in front of the fridge, right? That's not healthy. That you're escaping life. Those are physical pleasures, but that's not pleasure because it passes so fast. You're not even really enjoying. We have to train ourselves to realize when we have like, a bad day, we need a boost, we need this, we need that, not to seek those kind of physical pleasures all the time. To look for things like Bobby sitting outside and enjoying the fresh air and listening to a Torah class. That's a perfect physical, materialist, right? You're sitting outside enjoying the outdoors and you're listening to a Torah class. That's amazing. That's the perfect way to do it, right? So we have to find ways to we all need breaks. We all need little escapes, but you have to really live in this world and not just constantly be chasing these like numbing whatever, right? So enjoy the physical world, but just again remember it is just the appetizer.
Right, and the way I put it succinctly is don't retreat from life, elevate it. Right? Don't run away. Don't say, you know what, I went to a class and they said materialism no good, bad. No, it's not true. It's great if you're able to elevate it and elevate your life and make and each of us to make our lives more rich and more enjoyable through it and not to pull us down. And the way we're able to really measure it is the way we look at the difference between a luxury and a necessity. What's a luxury and what's a necessity? Right? Necessity, bread, water. Without bread and water, you can't exist. Right? What's a luxury? A Rolls Royce. Right? How do you know that bread and water is a necessity and a Rolls Royce is a luxury? Because what happens when you take it away? You take away your Rolls Royce, I can still walk, I can still drive a simple car, I can take city bus. There are things I can do, right? But if you take away bread and water, there's no more existence, right? So we have to really put things into perspective. You know what? I may have lost my phone, okay? It's not the end of the world. It's not a necessity. It's a luxury.
I'm gonna die. Right? Those teenagers like, I don't have Wi-Fi. I'm dying. I can't.
Right. What's life worth without Wi-Fi, right? So.
Not our teenagers. Others.
All right. Yeah. So physical pleasure is transitory. It leaves you depressed and end unto itself, and it's unsatisfying. Right? Spiritual pleasures are permanent, they're energizing, and they're a means, not an end, right? And they awaken the soul. They awaken our existence. They open up all of our senses to connection. So, closing remarks. Any closing remarks?
I don't know. I'm good. I'm done.
I guess it's like the debate yesterday. There's no closing remarks, no opening remarks. So
don't mention the debate. Right? Don't mention the debate.
But this wasn't a slugfest, okay? All right. So for our friends online, We're going to thank you all for joining us. For those of you on Zoom, if you have any questions, we're just going to go offline. 1 second. So, our friends online, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
Yes.
In 2 weeks. Next week is the Chag. It'll be the middle of Sukkot. Even though it's an intermediary day, we're not going to have class next week. We'll see you in 2 weeks, God willing, for way number 19.